All right. Well, welcome everybody to this week's dispatch. We are so glad to be with you again. And we read an article this week that has inspired us to talk about something that really,
Mm.
really creates a lot of grief in us and a lot and mourning and just horror. And that was about the way they treat sows, pigs that are breeding and and in some states they've outlawed this way of doing it, which is basically a cage, which is not even big enough for them to move. They
Right,
can
it was hinged on the fact that when pregnant sows are in an open space, they fight each other
yeah, that's what
and they
yeah,
bite and stuff, so then there's like their decision was like, we have to cram them all in, but make them not be able to move at all,
yeah,
and so these sows end up spending their lives in not being able to move and then chewing on the metal bars in their cage for
yeah,
their entire
yeah,
lives,
and
so
they're
yeah.
distressed, and it's also because it's industrial and it making squeeze more in together, you have to have a big
Mhm.
lot of space, and so a few states have said that they're not gonna let you do that. And you have to give the sow a certain number of square feet to live in, so they can actually get up and walk around and move. And of course, Big Ag fought back against that and said, "Oh hell no, that's too expensive. We don't want to have to do that." And so now it's gone to Congress, which is U.S. Congress, which is considering making a law that that other states can't make those kind of laws, basically, and to say
Yeah.
they can Ag gets to do whatever they want. Um, and, when we've all probably looked at the horror pictures of the chickens and the cows and the places that they get slaughtered and the slaughterhouses and stuff and the horrors that go on with that. And there are videos, but now there's something called the ag gag law that's been around for a while now that said they don't have to show us that stuff. They don't have to put
Mhm.
it on video. If they can tell reporters and researchers that they can't come in and look at that stuff. So, but it exists, and we know it exists, and it really does hurt deeply to think what we're doing to these sentient creatures. So that's what we thought we would chat about today.
That's right, and it is kind of it re and we should have started with a trigger warning for folks who are gonna be like, "I can't see this, I don't wanna hear it, this is too much for me,"
Yeah.
and, you're welcome to step away for this week because it will be a really hard conversation, I'm hoping for some of you, and, you know, it has been my entire life, ever since I was in junior high, I think we've talked about animals and, how do we raise food in an industrial setting that is ethical and safe for all of us,
Mhm.
including animals that are slaughtered for food. It was funny that I read the same article that morning, and I thought about it quite a bit, and I considered that in my 20s, I was like, I really was against it, and I was against it, and this is my biblical piece. So, in my 20s, I read the Bible cover to cover, and there is a verse in the Old Testament that, God made earth and God said, "Be good stewards of the world and take care of all the animals and trees and everything around you," right? And I really took that to heart because I thought, well, if it's about stewardship, is it right to um, collect animals and force them to breed and live in poo and, small cages in order for me to have bacon and, steaks? And in my 20s, I was like, no, absolutely not. I don't believe in this system and I'm going to be a vegetarian. So, here I am like 30 years later thinking, wait a minute, I kind of like wobbled for 30 years. And then, we talked about this like, oh, I buy my food straight from farmers and, or bison. Like these days, it's like there's a bison farm near and you can get bison, not cheap
Mhm.
and not a lot. And that, that's where like my goody two shoes was like, well, I'm doing a little bit better, but am I? I might be on my way to veganism these days after this article specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so
Woo.
Yeah,
ooey.
all our audience can now take a breath.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, uh, it's, as somebody who also, like, when possible, has stopped eating beef in favor of bison, um, and I've found that one of the easiest ways to, um, participate in a way that feels more ethical for me is to eat meat halal because they're very strict.
Mm.
Um,
And have it slaughtered.
yeah, yeah. The rules around it really like take a hard ethical bent
Mhm,
on that.
mhm.
Mhm.
Um, but this topic comes up often, more often in my life maybe than I would think, and uh, it's out that I have had a lot of challenging conversations, especially with militant vegans
Mhm,
throughout my life.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
because nothing is simple in the
Right.
systems that we have created
yeah,
in industrial systems, and industrial animal farming is horrifying, absolutely horrifying. But industrial food production of any kind is horrifying.
yeah,
The human, animal, and ecological cost
yeah,
of industrial plant farming also
Yeah,
yeah,
horrible, horrible,
yeah,
horrible, and
yeah.
not without exploitation, death, oppression of
Mhm.
people and non-human people.
yeah, yeah,
And
so true,
so
so true.
Mhm.
and the other part that I want to speak to on that is how often food especially gets plugged into or tracked in the personal choice realm,
Mm,
and the
right,
choice to eat directly from farms and the choice to pay more for bison, and that is just not feasible for so many people.
that's right.
Yeah, it isn't. Did either one of you watch The Good Place?
Yes.
The
Yeah,
TV series?
yeah,
Do you remember the whole commentary on the tomato, buying a tomato?
Mm-mm.
I don't.
So there was a piece, and I think it was TD who was they were trying to figure out like, why was that person sent to hell? And it's like they jacked up, they messed up, they made a bad decision, and so they went back to see like what decision actually tipped this person who was generally seen as a very good, ethical, moral person who spent their life doing good in the world, right?
Mhm,
But it was this one moment when they were in a supermarket trying to consider, like, which tomato should I buy? Is it the industrial tomato that, it's soulless, it's like, probably hydroponically grown in some big warehouse with like weird water trickling through it all day long. It's mealy, it's not that good. It's like picked up by, just like this poor person who's just like day after day picking through these tomatoes, or the organic, beautiful farm raised tomato that costs like 2 or 3 times more than this tomato.
right.
And then they just went through, like, continued with all the different aspects. So they were saying it is so hard to be a 21st century human being because every moment has choices that you have to make
Yeah,
just like that,
yeah,
that could easily, like, you know, you make a bad choice based on, "I'm hungry, like, today's not the day I'm gonna be, I can't afford it today," whatever.
yeah, yeah,
So, it does become, you're right, Sam, like, it becomes, we constantly have to make these choices and adjustments, and yes, of course, it's not fair. All of us should have equal access to good, well-made, well-grown food, but we don't, right? There's
yeah,
like
yeah,
this almost classist economics,
yeah, very much so.
educational, like
Yeah,
those who
yeah,
don't know. There are people who don't know, like, and have no idea what like bacon is from a pig, and that
right,
and pigs are
exactly.
like actually
Yeah,
super smart critters, right?
yeah, or even, chickens who maybe aren't so smart, but they don't indeed come from under
Right.
plastic,
They
and
are
and
so
then there's
smart. They're so cute. I
and then
love
there's the
chickens.
whole packaging thing, which is,
The
and all the
plastics.
and the
Yeah.
transport and all this stuff that causes
Yeah.
so much damage. I mean,
And
I
the
go ahead.
water that they stuff into animals so it's plumper, the
Yeah, yeah,
dye that they use in fish
drugs.
so it looks good, right? Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of different choices that get made before we even go to the supermarket to get something.
Yeah, and the drugs that they pump into 'em.
Mhm.
I was at my daughter and son-in-law's farm last a week or 2 ago, and, we were talking about, I mean, all around them is big ag, and we met one of the guys who'd lived there his whole life, and he was like, "Hey, if you guys need any big equipment, let me know,"
I
so he's
got some.
very friendly, but my son was saying, as much as we would wish that people could eat from sustainable permaculture farms, And, animals even that have been slaughtered in a beautiful, loving, caring way, uh, that's a privilege, and it's out of reach for most people, and there's no way we could feed the world like we do now, and on we don't it's not unless everybody built their own little farms, unless there was thousands
Right.
of them,
Right.
and that would be a lovely thing, but at this point, that's not happening, and you're right,
Right.
for most people, the food they're gonna eat is what they can afford,
Right.
and what they can afford is the stuff that's in the grocery store and is, subsidized,
Right.
by the way we do it,
Right.
so it's
And even
causing
some
harm.
some families can't even access a supermarket. They live in, what is it?
Food
Supermarket
desert.
deserts, food deserts, right? So they're
Mm,
just buying the slop that we offer them at the convenience store. Like,
right.
for better or for worse, that is the only
Yeah,
choice they might have and the only
yeah.
understanding around what nutrition needs they have. But, so why are we talking about this? Why is this important?
'Cause it makes me sad.
All right, so there's some
Yes.
there's some grief, right? There's
Absolutely.
grief in how the world has
Well,
transformed our personal day-to-day lives so that the choices we make really do affect other sentient beings.
yeah, yeah, and those sentient beings, all of those who are being so poorly treated right now as we sit here
Mhm.
speaking,
Mhm.
that hurts me inside, and
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
and the planet, of course, we talked about that. The planet
Mhm.
itself is suffering because of these ways of being, and
Mhm.
yeah, we need to I don't know what we need to do. We need to find
Well,
something better, but
I know.
that's the
Well,
trick.
yeah. Well, and I think that's just like we want to talk about death and dying and normalize the conversations and
Yeah.
really expand the people's knowledge of what is available for death and dying. I think again, and this has happened over the course of my own personal life, expanding the conversations about what it means to be, a sentient meat packet walking around consuming. Right? And so what that means is like you also eat and where does your food come from? What is this this bacon? Where did it come from? What is who owns this industrial farm and what are their what are their values and ethics about animal husbandry? Are
Right.
those, so I guess it's just like I want it to be that we're talking about this to again inform listeners that death is happening, hard and possibly very awful deaths are happening around us, and then we consume that. That is kind of uh, we consume that sadness. Like
Mm,
there was a book I was just listening to. I think it was I'm listening to Braiding Sweetgrass again because
Mm,
I read it like 10, 15 years ago, whenever it first came out.
yeah.
And my daughter just read it, and she had some things, and I was like, "Oh, I need to read it to remember." But I think they were talking about she might have been talking about industrial, slaughterhouses and how people have to, like, cover their ears because they hear the scream so often that it's too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
mm,
And, it is not easy to hear that. It is not easy to consume this knowledge, but it also makes me feel like the more we know and can be grateful for the food that we do have, not eat as much sometimes because it's like this is, our I guess it's like our water issues are also from um feedlots,
Mhm.
making meat and creating meat for us is like giving cows a ton of water and then they
Mm.
pee and poop all day and all that their fecal matter just kind of sits into the
Ground, yeah.
aquifers.
Yeah.
And so like, we're like doubly damaging our
Yeah.
land and
Yeah.
ourselves. What is it like if we could stop eating meat, like maybe the greenhouse gases could actually like be reduced by a bit, by like a noticeable fraction too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. S
death all
yes.
around us.
death. It's all around, and there's no getting away from it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
you have to kill to
life,
eat.
whatever it is, and that comes up often too. Is like, how do we delineate consciousness and sentience?
Mm.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Science is catching up to,
Uh,
plants feel pain. We just can't
right,
hear them, and they
Yeah.
don't
right,
have eyes.
right.
And, some people talk about, I only eat things that, don't have eyes. And everybody makes these like delineations on what's okay to eat. For a long time, like I won't eat
Oct-
cephalopods,
octopus.
octopus, because they're
My God, I
so
can't
smart. They're so close.
either. Oh
But at a
God, I
certain
know.
point, at a certain point, it's like, and how is that really that different? Why am I making that judgment
Mhm.
on what level of consciousness is okay to eat and what isn't?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I kinda
exactly.
think that everything is conscious and that's why, giving thanks for our food is so important, right?
No
Yeah,
matter what it
No
is,
matter what.
just
absolutely.
to love and respect what you're eating and the sacrifice that's made to keep you going.
Yeah,
That's right.
and all
Yeah.
the sacrifices that were made to get it to you in your house and in your mouth, right? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, little story, 'cause
Okay.
wait, I hope you know this about me, but I eat almost everything. I'm like an offal girl. I have been known to eat, like, the weird things that you find in markets in other countries.
Yeah.
So, years ago, when I was a master gardener, my church was called in and said, "Listen, there is a horrible snail problem over at the governor's house. Could some of those master gardeners go some morning and just help pick them off a lettuce? Because at that
Mm,
point, they were having like a garden for like the unsheltered families in Denver. Okay, so me and my two kids, we like show up one morning with our buckets and we start collecting them. And I actually don't know what they did with them, but at one point I was like, they're big. They're like escargot size.
yeah.
And I was like, you can eat snail. And all these old ladies were like, "Ooh, oh, whatever." And so I ended up just being like, "I kind of feel like I want to try this." And so I gathered like 2 dozen snail. I came home and I researched it. It is indeed like uh, one size smaller than the ones that you pay big bucks for in France. And I pulled out an old fish tank and I had them. Of course, I like learn, and my homeschooling kids had to like figure out how to take care of snails, little water, little lettuce. And then my chef friend was like, "Give them cornmeal and we'll eat them." And I'm like, "Okay, baby." And we did. We kept them for like, I don't know, a couple weeks. And they were so happy, like eating cornmeal, and they were so cute. They like escaped out of out of my little glass thing. And, he did fail to tell me that we could have given him a bunch of wine at the very end to just, like, be extra
Oh.
yummy, but they could also go on on a happier note. But, I ended up having some friends over to have escargot and pasta, and my chef friend created this amazing meal, and, I'm not above eating all kinds of crazy stuff, and I think that that is also an issue we have in this country is that we've
Absolutely.
created this very narrow notion of what we should eat, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this is all we can eat. It's like, the stuff that you find in grocery stores. And, the world over, we're eats all kinds of critters and all kinds. I mean, grasshoppers, yum, have eaten them. Ants,
yeah.
yum, like I have eaten my share of bugs in this lifetime. And I hope you hear this somewhere out there and you're like, maybe that's what I'll do too.
Yeah, yeah, it's worth checking into. Yeah, maybe we could encourage some of our farmer friends to start bringing, raising other things. I mean, worms are actually really good for food, actually. You can make a really big worm bin, and I had a friend who made, worm burgers, which were yummy,
Yeah.
and
Well, actually, Survivor New Zealand, because I watch, well, not Survivor, it's like Alone New Zealand or Tasmania. There was a woman, because do you know about those alone shows? They like put you on
Mhm.
some random place and you have to like use your wits to stay alive for a million
Yeah, yeah.
bucks.
Yeah.
There was this one lady, and she would have been my pal because she was kooky, immediately took off her shoes and was walking around barefoot. And, all these guys are like, "I need to go and kill, like, a wombat and fish and everything." My girl, she was digging up worms and making little worm patties as well, and she won. 'Cause she was able to sustain herself, like, very well for a long time without having to, like, find the big kill, right? So,
Yeah,
please
yeah.
eat worms.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking about how it would be hard in our world right now to actually be sustained and sustain the world, but part of that is, yeah, you're right, we have such a narrow definition of what we could actually eat,
What's
and
edible.
if we open that up, maybe we could sustain the world
Yeah.
in a permaculture way.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who just recently said, "Hey, if the zombie apocalypse hits, I need to make sure that I get you into my space or I come to you." He's like, "Because you actually know plants and how to like because when I'm hiking, I'm always like chewing on things like, "Oh, look at that, yummy," and eat this, eat that. And he's like, "Yeah, like you will survive. You know what to eat."
Yeah.
It's always surprising the like the percentage of like wild native plants that are edible,
Yeah,
and we
Yeah.
just don't
or medicinal.
even
Yeah,
Or
or medicinal,
medicinal.
don't
Yeah.
even think about it.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty much everything out there has a reason for being there.
That's
And
right.
somebody
And a
pointed out the other day, and this is true here in the Northwest, that quite often a plant that will poison you is growing right next to the plant that will save you if you
right.
get poisoned, you know?
The
And we
antidote.
have yeah, we have nettles out here, and right next to nettles are ferns, and if you get stung by nettles and you pick a fern, the kind, I think it's a sword fern.
Sword fern.
Yeah, and you rub the nettles with it, it
Yeah.
takes away the pain. And it's
Huh.
like, wow, and or
Fascinating.
slugs. The other one that I love that somebody told me once is slugs. You take the slug goo and rub it on
Oh,
nettles, it takes pain away. It's like, yeah, well, that's why slugs hang out.
that is
There's a
so cool. I did
and
not
Many
know
they're
about the
edible,
reasons.
right?
slugs. Yeah. Well, and I keep nettles because when I have a lot of like pain in my back or like for a while, my knees really hurt, I
Yeah.
go outside and grab nettles and like just like brush them on me.
Mm.
And what happens is blood immediately flows to that. So you get a lot more blood flow and warmth.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
And it's actually beneficial. So,
Therapeutic.
rheumatoid arthritis is like one of the things that nettles is actually good for.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. Who knew?
I love my nettles. I know everybody who comes to my house is like, "Oh my god, your nettles." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's for teas. It's for, medicine."
Yeah. At our
So,
retreat
Uh,
last week, you ran into a whole big field of nettles, didn't you, Sam?
oh yeah. Well, they blocked the trail at a certain point.
Yeah.
I went exploring, and then there was a nettle forest, and I went, "Okay, that's as far as I'm going." It's the nettles
yeah.
have reclaimed this area for
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And, we
yeah,
we probably could have sent a group out there to harvest them and make a big soup or something, you know?
sure.
Teas or soups or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have done that
Actually
too.
actually, you can't have nettles after a certain point because then they have a little bit of a toxin, you can't eat them.
Mhm.
But if
Mm,
you harvest them early on and you
And they're
dry them,
young.
it's really great for teas, and it's really great like, they can be steamed like spinach.
Yeah, yeah, I've done
oh,
that. Yeah.
good to know about
They're
those
really yummy.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
Herbalism.
There we go. One
Yeah.
a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess to bring it back around, we were talking about Ana Luisa, you mentioned, like, when we eat these things that are grown in an industrial system, we are eating we're eating the sadness, we're
Mhm.
eating the suffering,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
since there's no real escape from industrial food systems for most of us, whether you can make the choice to eat less industrially sometimes, but not always. Sometimes you're on the road and a gas
Right.
station corn
Right.
dog is all you can get.
Right.
And sometimes you can taste it. That's sort of an
Mhm.
aside. Like, sometimes I eat something and I'm like, "Yeah, I can taste
Mhm.
the
S
Mm.
quality of life that this being
Oh,
had."
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
But
yeah,
to, like, in those moments, to have conversations with that and to do, like, active grieving
yeah.
Mhm.
about the systems that we really don't have much control over right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, I love that.
And the unanswerable questions, or
Yeah.
not unanswerable, but unanswered questions of, like,
Mhm.
can we feed everybody
That's
Mhm.
right.
sustainably?
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
yeah,
how much does it take to, like, shift the momentum of this?
yeah.
And just increasing that mindfulness and consciousness
Mhm.
about what
Mhm.
you are eating,
Mhm.
and that, I think, that that sense of metabolism can go a long way in maybe, starting to change things materially if we let it uh, lead into our actions,
Right.
and
Just from awareness. Yeah,
just from awareness and collective action, especially.
yeah,
Because individual choices, I want to bring it back to, like, individual buying choices
yeah.
can't fix this.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
We can't
yeah.
consume our way out of unethical consumption.
As it
We
turns
have to
out.
shift things on a much larger scale including, farmers who have done this way forever and are good-natured and
Mhm.
really wanna feed the world and don't,
Mhm.
either have the resources, education, or understanding to do it in a different way. But yeah, the gratitude and the
Mm,
understanding and then, paying attention, if you can I spend a lot of time in Portland. Every food cart pod in Portland has a halal cart.
mm,
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, I eat much more vegetarian when I'm in a
Mhm.
city.
mm.
I grew up in Montana where it's the land of free range everything.
Mhm.
And so it's a different relationship to the animals around me. But, to feel the difference when
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
when you can make those choices.
yeah, and have those conversations and do those rituals of prayer and
Mhm.
thankfulness and
Mhm.
gratitude. Uh,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
think another way of being aware of that is like what Annalise was speaking to earlier is paying attention to the other foods that are available. I went over
Mhm.
to, Hawthorne Farm, where one of our good friends has a farm, and walked in to buy some yogurt, goat yogurt from them, and when I walked in, they were around the back, and they were harvesting a deer that had just been killed on the road,
Mhm.
and I was like, they just people around them know that you
Right.
don't just let a roadkill rot
Yep.
on the roadside. You call
Yep.
you call
Yep.
Daniel, and Alexia, and they'll take care of it, and they'll
That's
feed
great.
people with it. So,
Mhm.
I think that's again, and they also are very ethical about the way the animals are killed on their farm,
Mhm.
and they don't leave any piece of it left. Anything
Mhm.
if there is any little bit left that they can't use in some way, they put it out in the forest for the forest
Mhm.
animals, and so
Mhm.
it's,
Oh, that's
that kind of
great.
consciousness
Mhm.
and on our parts as the audience, as consumers, to be aware of that kind of consciousness and find the people who are doing that. Um, doesn't have to be more expensive. Sometimes they're
Mhm.
glad to share their stuff and even
Mhm.
give it away. So anyway, that's again something we can encourage people to be aware of and think about. So, thank you guys. Yeah,
Thank you.
good
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah,
As always.
as always.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it for us for today. Thank you all for joining us. Do all that good stuff, the liking, the subscribing. Come hang out with us on Substack, where we've got chats at brewing, and stay tuned for the next one.
That's right.
Stay
See you
tuned.
soon. Adios.
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 Grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.